obviously, it's, we're back at it. We're excited. We watched a bunch of film on Tennessee last night and then through the morning. So obviously we got a heck of a challenge ahead of us. They have a heck of an offense. They score a lot of points. They spread the field out. They do a really good job. Really talented group on defense, and they played some pretty tight games. I mean, they're sitting there at 6-3, but when you look at all those games, those things all go down to the wire. This team could be 9-0 right now. Their coach does a tremendous job. He has for a number of years in building the program up. So we're excited for the challenge. At the end of the day, get on the road. You play in front of 100,000 people. Go to SEC country. I've had chances in my career to have played in those atmospheres and to have coached in those atmospheres. So I'm excited about it, and it's another great challenge.
Questions?
Go ahead. I was going to say, obviously playing one of the top teams in the country, what's it going to take, and what kind of a performance do you guys have to put in to walk away with the W?
Well, the biggest thing is we're gonna have to do a really good job of just diving into the game plan, making sure that we use our the strengths of this football team to give us our best opportunity. And in games like that, again, I remember years ago going into the fourth quarter with SC. With the tie ball game. I've coached against Ohio State. I've coached against Michigan. Some really good teams. My first roundabout here at New Mexico State, going in and playing LSU at night. So seeing those atmospheres, if you're gonna have a chance to win those games, you're gonna have to be dialed in. You can't turn the ball over, and then you got to give yourself a chance in the second half. You got to keep it close to that first half. But at the end of the day, it's still football. I'm saying? All these guys, grew up on the same fields, and we have the same task ahead of us. So there's been bigger upsets than that, but it would definitely be considered an upset. But we're excited for the challenge and ready to go.
For Logan and Bernock, just obviously these last 4 games have been close defeats. How are you guys handling these close defeats, and I guess just how are you guys moving forward, knowing you're kind of in the final stretch of you guys' regular season? Logan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think the main thing as far as the locker room is just staying together. We all have the same frustrations. We're involved in the same game, and we know that we're that much closer to winning each and every week, and we know it's at hand. We know why we're losing, and but the main thing is we're not pointing any fingers. It's frustrating. We express it, but at the end of the day, we come back to work. It's a new week, it's a new opportunity, and we have 3 games left to go make what we want out of it. And as a locker room, it's just staying together and going back to work.
Bernock, can I get your take on that?
Yeah, definitely. Just another opportunity to just continue to go back to work and just continue to be who we are. We're a great football team. Just like you mentioned, the game that we lost, it hasn't been like a bad loss or just huge losses. Just we've been getting our own way. So I think just going back to work and just being who we are, and just we're going to capitalize on for that.
Bernock, you had your 2 takeaways last Saturday, kind of extend you guys' turnover streak that you guys had going on this season. How much you guys emphasizing that on Saturday to get Tennessee's offense that's averaging over 500 yards a game off the field and to as much as possible?
It started with Coach Sanchez. He talked about making critical moments and stuff like that. So we went out with the mindset, just go out there and be who we are once again. Just in those big times, you're going to make big plays, and that's how we're going to carry it on to this week and just go make plays and be who we are.
Coach, just kind of building off that and the turnovers, you mentioned 500 yards a game for Tennessee, but the one kind of Achilles heel for Aguilar this season has kind of been the interception ball. How big is it to be able to win that turnover battle if you guys are going to come home with a W?
Yeah, if you're going to go, get a win at Tennessee, you're going to have to create some turnovers, and you can't turn the ball over. It's going to, momentum swings. You saw it last Saturday. Those momentum swings are huge. You got to create some momentum early. You got to keep it close early. They're going to come out, and I'm sure they're going to be extremely aggressive, especially on offense. I've seen, went back and watched East Tennessee and their UAB film and things like that. They've got a lot of explosive players, so they're going to try to win with space. They're going to try to be explosive, and when they do that, you have to try to take advantage of it and create some turnovers. And just addressing one thing. Somebody showed me yesterday how something about me coming in like it's a funeral or something like that. Nothing could be further from the truth. When you pour yourself into a game like this, when you work as hard, and I don't care if it's football, basketball, baseball, I don't care if it's a band competition, it's supposed to hurt. So walking in and showing a little bit of disappointment is a good thing. And when you get up the next day and you come in the building and you got 105 guys that are ready to rally and ready to roll, you got the right guys there. So, again, we make no apologies for it. And then you put it in perspective because our head strength coach's mom passed away on Friday night. So you really put that in perspective, and you just kind of giggle when you see stuff like that. So our guys are going to be ready to go. They'll be fired up. We know we got a heck of a task ahead of us. But, yeah, winning the turnover battle is going to be huge. Playing first down defense is going to be big, not giving them short fields. Offensively, we've got to move the chains. One of the biggest things in a game like this is, you can't be 3-and-outing. You can't take, 30 seconds off the clock, 3-and-out, and punt the ball against a team like this. You got to be able to move the ball, move the chains. So we're going to have to create a design and a plan for Logan and the rest of the offensive, weapons we have out there to go ahead and, and take advantage of certain situations that we've seen on film. So, again, easier said than done, but we're excited to do it, and we're going to dive in and pour ourselves into this game just like we do every week.
For Logan Bernock, just playing Tennessee in Knoxville, I guess how are you guys feeling in the locker room heading into Saturday's matchup?
Yeah, definitely excited. I think when you grow up and you play this game, you think about playing in those huge games, and it's back to rivalry games or playing above in a Power 5 level. If you're playing in front of 100,000 people, if you're not excited about that or have some goosebumps or be a little nervous about that, I think you're not human. So we're definitely excited for the opportunity, and we're excited to play on a big stage. I think at the end of the day, you want to show that you can play with the best and be the best. So this gives us the opportunity to do that, and everyone's excited for it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a blessing to play for the ball to speak with, just to go out there and showcase what you got. As you go out there and fight with your brothers in all aspects. So, I'm very grateful. It's going to be my first time playing a big stadium like that, so just going to take it all in, go fight with my brothers.
Tony, I was watching game day, I think the previous weekend, and Saban was talking about, from his perspective as an SEC coach, when they play these late season games against, non-conference opponents, the discipline's a little bit harder to keep just because, they've been playing conference games for the last 4 or 5 weeks. You guys being on the flip side of that coin, just what's the mentality going to be like this week, knowing you guys are going to have a pretty good opportunity on Saturday?
No doubt. I think if you take a step back, and you look, you like these games being early in the season, because once you get into the meat and potatoes of conference, you like to keep that going. Stepping outside of conference, in a week, 10 game, is kind of odd, but it is what it is. It's the way the schedule is made up, So again, it's one of those deals where for us, when you're sitting there and, you got 3 to go, right, and we got a tall task, but, you're trying to knock all 3 of those off because we know what comes with that, right? We got to dive into this thing. We just got to jump into the deep end and go with it. So I'll tell you what, my approach with these guys this week, though, is going to be no different than it was last week or the week before. We're not going to, coach any harder. We're not going to coach any softer. We're not going to be less demanding. We're not going to be more demanding. We're going to have a good positive approach. We're going to attack every day just like we normally do. It starts tomorrow, getting on out there, 7:45. We'll walk into special teams meetings, and, we're going to go ahead and we're going to coach them up, and we did that last night. It's hard after, a game like that. You come back in, but you look at the guys, they need to see that your shoulders are up, your chest is out, your chin is up, and you're ready to go, and once they see that, what men do, men stand back up and they dive back into it. So, again, what Saban was saying, there's no doubt. They've got challenges on their end. They're coming off a bye week. They've got some important games, towards the end of their schedule. I'm sure they're still fighting, hoping there's an outside shot to get in the playoffs. Sitting there with 3, it's kind of tough, but I'm sure that's something that they're kind of preaching to their kids. Just keep your head down and keep on working. For us, we're not going to over talk about it, but heck, we want to be bowl eligible. Right? We put ourselves in a tough spot to have to go and beat a Tennessee team on the road to do that. But we're up for the challenge, and we're going to go throw down.
Logan, what do you think is the biggest key to trying to start faster on offense so you guys don't go down 24-0 and have to crawl all the way back, but, kind of keep it steady throughout the game?
Yeah, it's just coming out with the intent to own the details. I think at the beginning of a game, I don't know what it is. It's one thing or another, but we can't have that. It can't be 10 out of the 11 guys on the field doing their job. We need to come out as a unit and be more detailed. Trust the plays that are called and execute. At the end of the day, we have a responsibility to do. Everyone has a job on every play, and we just need to go out and execute a little bit better. I don't think it's a nervous thing. It feels like we have good energy, good expectations coming into the game, but we just need to go out and execute a little bit better and hone in on the details.
Coach, Brody Malone's a guy you viewed a lot as a freshman. What do you think his potential is for having 3 years left of eligibility after this year with the Aggies?
Well, it's one of those deals where when you watch his progression from the time he showed up in the summer to now, and you've seen the growth that he has. He's going to be a great player when it's all said and done. He's got a lot of God-given ability. And what he's learned to do is learn to be a college football player. Coach Steve's done a really good job of challenging him, working on his maturity, just discipline, route running, depth, and just, becoming understanding how big and physical he is and being a presence as a blocker on the perimeter. He can do some, sky's the limit for him. I mean, I'm really happy for him that he's had the success that he's had this year. Again, there's still 3 games left, and I'm sure he'll be very impactful on those 3 games. But sky's the limit for that kid. And, and the great thing about him is he's kind of funny. He's got a big smile on his face all the time, and I don't think he even realizes how good he can be. You know what I'm saying? He kind of reminds me of Donnie a bunch of years ago. He's just a much bigger version of him, But I remember when Donnie first came in here, same thing. He was just kind of, little deer in the headlights, trying to figure things out, just kind of happy to be around and stuff. And then you see the player he's kind of, groomed into, right? And I think Brody will be on that exact same track.
Coach, with Tennessee's offense really spread out,
Yeah.
a lot of those deep option kind of route concepts, what are some of the difficulties in trying to defend that when you don't necessarily know what you're going to see on a given play?
Well, they're gonna force you to put players in space and then try to create a pass rush at the same time. So you're playing against some elite athletes, right? We've got some great athletes too, but we're gonna have to do a really good job of tackling on the perimeter. They're gonna spread us out wide, and it's kind of funny because you're gonna see this same offense for the next 2 weeks in a row. You know what I'm saying? It's like the carbon copy of each other, right? So that's a good thing. But they're going to spread us out, and our secondary is going to have to do a really good job of tackling in space, and then we're going to have to try to, create a pass rush on these guys. You can't give Aguilar all day to sit back there and just, take those shots down the field because he'll hurt you doing it. So again, we got to figure out how we're going to manufacture a good pass rush, and then we got to be a great tackling team on the perimeter.
Coach, given the crucial missed kicks in the recent weeks, is there going to be a different approach to that regard at all when we see these 4th and shorts from, say, 45 out? Is there going to be a different approach going on this week?
It'll come out sooner or later, but Ryan Hawk went to the emergency room right after the game. He had a really bad hematoma, and he actually stayed the night in the hospital, still there. He'll be out this week for sure. Ryan's a great kid, and here's the deal. When you're asking guys to make 50-yard field goals, to walk off, send yourself to overtime, that's hard. And you look at the kick, he had the distance. I mean, it missed by 2 feet to the right. It's not his fault. You know what I'm saying? We had an opportunity. We got the ball down to the 35-yard line. We had 1 minute on the clock. We needed to get more than 3 yards. We get a couple more yards, give them a more manageable kick, or score a touchdown there. It changes things. So it's a team effort. We're all in this together. But does it change things moving forward? Yeah, it does. We're not going to have that same type of range and distance, so we're going to have to be more aggressive. Ryan's made some critical kicks this year that have really kept us in games. Early on, you look at the Western Kentucky game. He did a really good job there of making that a 14-9 game when we were kind of struggling on offense at the beginning. Liberty game, he made some nice kicks. Kept us in there, and those things came back to help us. So he's done a good job, but we're going to have to probably be a little bit more aggressive as we move forward because our field goal range is going to change.
For all 3 of you, Logan, I want your offense to take Bernock defensively out. Obviously, when you look at the film of these, close games you guys have played the last few weeks, what's the reoccurring theme on your guys' side of the ball that you've noticed that I guess leads to the results you guys have been pulling off? Bernock, you want to go first?
Defensive perspective, I'd say there's been times we started slow, there's been times we started fast, and there's been time we haven't been able to maintain. But I feel like just honing on the details, starting fast, finishing fast, and all that. So I would say really just putting the foot down and just play the defense that we can play, just not starting fast and try to catch up, or start fast and then slow down for any offense. So we're just gonna have to be consistent throughout the whole game.
Logan?
Yeah, as far as an offensive perspective, I mean, the obvious thing is the self-inflicted wounds, whether that's turnovers or penalties or stuff after the play. Those all hurt us at the end of the day. We need to take care of the ball better. That starts with me. But other than that, it's always something that's setting us back. We're kind of constantly getting in our own way, and it comes in spurts. You have 4 drives where we can't get a first down, and then we go 21 unanswered. So we just can't go in ebbs and flows like that. We need to play more consistent as an offense. Once again, it's back to that 10 out of 11 guys kind of doing their job, and we need to hone in on the details, take better care of the football. Obviously, that starts with me. But just every guy kind of taking accountability and moving on and ready to kind of hold that standard the last couple of weeks.
Tony?
Yeah, these guys kind of hit the nail on the head, but the biggest thing, in these last couple of weeks is, kind of giving up some of those catastrophics on defense. We play really good, you hunker down, and then you give up a couple big balls, you just can't let that happen, especially when you're trying to find your footing. Early in that game, this past week, you know, we obviously we looked a little lethargic, you know, on defense, and they went right down 75 yards to score, and then you got 65-yard drive, and then from that point on, played pretty darn good defense the entire night. I mean, I believe they scored 24 points in the first 21 minutes and didn't score another point in the last 39 minutes, which is it's crazy, you know. And then, you know, but then you have the weeks before, like, you know, the Western Kentucky, where they just kind of kept us in that game, just did a really good job, you know, throughout the course of it, and then it got away from us at the end. Offensively, we've just had some slow starts, you know, and you know, Logan hit it. I mean, and why do we have slow starts? Well, you know, you got a false start, you know, you got a holding penalty, you know, we have turnover, we have just a variety of different things that you just can't do, you know, and it's the frustrating thing is, you know, then you have nights where it's like, you know, you go back to the Liberty game, right, and we're playing good defense, we're, you know, doing some good things on offense early in the game, and you know, and then you have the you know, unfortunately you have some muff punts, you know, and then you get a kick return. It's just a whole different way to find a way to lose, you know. So again, it's been a frustrating deal. Again, we'll look back on it later on. But right now we got to finish this thing. We're excited about it. But what I do know is we got a room full of fighters. We've got an offense that can play and score in quick spurts, right? We've got to start that earlier. We have a defense that can shut people out for long periods of time. At some point, we need all of that to merge and come together. You know what I'm saying? We need to play complementary football. When we're playing good defense, we need to be playing good offense. We can't put ourselves in these holes. I mean, 2 of the 4 games that we're talking about, we had, you know, we were down quite a bit, you know, going into halftime, you know, and then found a way to come on back and give ourselves a chance to win the game literally on the last play of the game. So those are frustrating things, but as a coach, when you look at your guys, you go, okay, no quitting them, ton of toughness in them. We've shown we can play great defense. We've shown we can play great offense, right? We've shown we can be great on special teams. Now we got to put it all together.